All right. Welcome to another Greek history stream. Tonight we're going to explore the Golden Age of Athens. What we've seen last time was the creation of, or the transformation of the Hellenic League, which was a unified Greek effort to halt the Persian invasion. Sparta and their Peloponnesian allies dropped out of this, seeing no purpose to continue a war against Persia. The Athenians and their coastal and island allies continued the fight under the Delian League. But during this time, the Delian League transitions from a voluntary um, organization of polis into the Athenian Empire, and Athens grows incredibly rich, increasingly so, by bleeding their tribute allies dry. So what we're going to do tonight is check out Athens in the height of its glory years, uh, bleeding its subjects um, and taking their tribute to create things such as the Acropolis or the famous plays that we still enjoy today. But before all that, we must of course make a sacrifice. Sing, goddess, wisdom through my lips, so that I and my viewers may learn something about the past, so that we may apply it in the present. So here we are on an altar to Zeus, situate ourselves. We are just north of the city of Athens. We're going to pass down into this area. I think this is going to be, there's a famous gate. Uh-oh. Can you guys see the game? It's showing up that you cannot. Okay, let me just change this. All right, here we go. So, back in Athens, here we are, altar to Zeus. We're going to go south in through this gate, and then we're going to make our way to the Acropolis. So I'm very excited about this. There's going to be a lot of things built up around here. This is going to be one of the most important areas for Assassin's Creed to have made. So I think there's going to be a lot of cool content. Let's call my horse. So as I was mentioning, during this time, Athens has created an empire, and the way they've done this is the tribute. So to join the Delian League, you had the option of paying money or supplying ships, but increasingly, these Greek polis are taking the easy way out. They'll send money. All of their citizens can stay at home, get rich, become artisans or traders or whatever. They get to enjoy the good life paid for by their taxes to Athens, and Athens and basically runs the entire Delian League. Oh, we actually should not do this just yet. This is a Spartan Camp. So this is going to wait till the Peloponnesian War. So these polis become increasingly dependent on Athens to supply military aid, but it means that they can't do anything against Athens. So if they tried to rebel, they're going to be employing completely novice sailors on new ships that, because they don't run their own ships, Athens does, on their own ships against the best navy in Greece, which that's just not going to go well. So Athens is able to just strangle their allies. So Naxos was the first polis that tried to get out of the Delian League and was not able to do so. So all these, that's too bad. So let's go up. We'll go up and see what the Delian League money paid for. So every year the Athenian tax collectors, they sent out 700 different magistrates to all the different polis. I think there were about 148 allied polis in the Delian League, and they were all paying some amount of silver talents. And Athens took one cut of that, 1/60th, just for Athena Polias, which is their version of like the eponymous Athena of our city. All right, so we are approaching. I actually should look. Let's see. I'm approaching the Acropolis the Assassin's Creed way. I was just going to climb up the rocks because, you know, I'm the world's best rock climber, but I think I should go up the main way. So I've heard that this approach to the Acropolis, let's actually take a look back out at Athens. Um, this approach to the Acropolis wasn't built until the 4th century BC. This currently, what we are going to be looking at is the middle of the 5th century. So before, this entire area was left burnt by the Persians. The Persians occupied Athens twice during the Second Persian War, and they completely leveled all the temples, all of there's the sacred olive tree of Athena. They burned that, and of course there's like that new sprout. Um, but you know, there's nothing of this grandeur, and they decided, the Athenians decided that they were going to leave this area um, bare and burned as a reminder against the Persians, which is one reason that they were fighting the Persians for decades after they pushed them out of mainland Greece. But eventually, they were growing rich enough by all this allied tribute that Pericles, the great man, the great statesman of ancient Athens, embarked on a rebuilding project. That giant statue is of Athena Polias. So there are two big Athenas, right? There's going to be, wow, this is very cool. Um, there's going to be the one outside and the one inside, and they'll probably tell us. There's maybe one's Athena Polias and one is something else, a different type of Athena, because you know there's a bunch. We got some cool scenes of epic warfare. We're just going to continue. Let's see. I thought that was the way to get up. Did I miss? Look at me, I can't even stay on the path. Here we go. So yeah, this is, I don't know why people are coming up here, probably to give devotions, maybe some sacrifices, some tribute. Looks to be a pretty happening place though. We've got a philosopher here. Well, let's just pretend he's got a nice little white addition, a little accent to his toga. Little building. Some very nice potted plants, some topiary. We do love this gardening and horticulture. Over here, actually, this is cool. Here's some marble that's going to be used to oh yeah, so you can see over here, they're still in the process of building it. So the entire Acropolis pediment is in the process of building, and they're probably just illustrating this. This would have been to situate us in the 460s and 450s BC, where where the Athenians, the Athenians were rebuilding the Acropolis. On the slopes of the Acropolis was the temple of Themis, goddess of justice, law, and fairness. She succeeded her mother Gaia as the possessor of the Oracle of Delphi, giving it to Apollo. Interesting. Yeah, so we saw in Delphi how it had been an oracle to Gaia, the goddess of the earth, and now. Yeah, so the lineage of the gods, I think, is super fascinating to see how they are replaced one after another, from like chthonic and more pagan, I guess like earthy, almost animistic type gods, to the more personified gods. So we're just going to go around. I think I'm going to head back, but I do want to see this temple actually. There's also the Odeon, I believe, on the steps of the Acropolis. Yeah, it was just right in front of us. Maybe we'll do that first. Yeah, so the Odeon, this is where we get Nickelodeon. Odeon is this big theater, and I might get this wrong. Might get that wrong. But then a Nickelodeon at the beginning of the century was a place that you paid a nickel to go watch cool things. Okay, so this is a temple to Asclepios. He's a god of medicine. We'll be checking out like a big shrine to him later on. Man, I'm just ravaging these people. I feel so bad. This looks, yeah, like the cartoon channel was named after nickel shows. 5-cent shows. The Altar of Dionysus. Okay, so this is very cool. This makes sense because our Dionysus, the TA playing Dionysus, is interested in theater and doing something on those lines. An altar consecrated to Dionysus is believed to have stood in the center of the theater's orchestra. This central altar would have been the focal point of the choral dance. However, some archaeologists have suggested the altar was actually on the side of the orchestra, and there has also been debate about whether or not it was a permanent fixture in the theater. The altar was used in religious ceremonies before and after performances. Dionysus was worshipped with food offerings and sacrificing of animals like cattle, sheep, pigs, and goats. He was also offered wine libations befitting his title as the god of wine. That would make sense. Also, god lacking pants, it looks like. In addition to that, would make sense for Dionysus. In addition to its sacred uses, the altar could also function as a stage property in various plays like Agamemnon's tomb in Koiphoroi and the Omphalos of Delphi in the Eumenides. Yeah, so it's a stage prop. I imagine it would have been kind of difficult. Like, I mean, let's take a look at how situated this is. Oh, cool new mount. Okay, so it's not on the stage; it's just in front. And they were saying something about an orchestra. It'd be cool if they had a bunch of musicians in this front area. What's up, Vagilis? Oh, nice! Got the emotes. That's very fitting for today. We got the Athenian allies. Finally, you're the first person to know how to use the emotes. The other people are just my students who don't use Twitch. So here's the Theater of Dionysus. We got a whole back area. I hope this is where they keep all the. Oh, this is the Odeon of Pericles. So what is this relationship with the outside theater? Alright, so here we got some music. Music was everywhere in ancient Greece, and we wanted to reflect this in the game. Musicians played in the sanctuaries, the Olympics, the villages, and the cities. They have done a really good job of this. Also, music comes, of course, from the word muse. Oh, small delay. Yeah, I'm sorry. Not the best internet. I do apologize. Music had many uses, including singing and playing during ceremonies, creating rhythm during combat training, and for entertainment. Working closely with our musicians in the UK, Canada, and Greece, we created original songs that reflected important moments in the story, instrumental music to provide entertainment throughout the world, and ancient Greek sailor songs for the boats. So this summer I think I'm going to have to play some of the actual Assassin's Creed so I get the full experience of the music. Unfortunately, it doesn't tell us about the Odeon of Pericles. That could be, if any of my students are watching, one page on the Odeon of Pericles. I'll give you extra points for it. So here I wonder if this is like just an extra stage. They have an indoor area. It looks like you've got good seating. But it's interesting that unlike today's stages, which are all just facing one way, people are sitting all around the what I imagine is the stage, which is very cool. So yeah, Athens was becoming very rich at this time, and you can tell. Look at all the cranes, right? They're building new things. Same thing like today when you see cranes, the place is blowing up. So it looks like they're building another temple. It would be nice if they had maybe a little diversity. Let's see what's going on down there. But Pericles thought it was so important for the education of Athenians to watch drama that he paid the fees for like the bottom certain percent, or I think he made it free. I think he made I should double check this. I'm sorry, I didn't do the reading on this, but yeah, he either subsidized going to the theater or paid for like a couple theater visits a year for each person. So yeah, let's check out this music.
Welcome to Athens, wanderer.
This is Aspasia.
More specifically, welcome to the musical hub of the city, the Odeon.
All right, so we know who Aspasia is, right? She's the girlfriend of Pericles, and she's just in high society, living a good life, talking to intellectuals in Athens.
The Odeon was where musicians came to share their songs with the public. The melodies played here caught the wind, and drifted through the air, soothing the souls of Athenians across the city. Come find me when your visit is complete, and we will talk about the things you've learned. See you soon, Wanderer.
Cool. All right. So I know nothing about this. Once again, I'm going to be learning just alongside you guys. Uh, this is, I think tomorrow well, we'll see when we get more geopolitical, but
Music played an important part
I'm
in
happy with
almost
this.
every aspect of ancient Greek life. Whether attending a public gathering, rubbing elbows at a dinner party, laying out offerings in a temple, or marching into battle, there was a song for everything. Aristotle even wrote that music increased the efficiency of laborers, and it was often played for rowers and field pickers to keep them working at a steady rhythm.
I love that understanding of deep human psychology. Like, of course, music helps everyone likes listening to music, and so I love the public use of it, um, and the place it has in society. Now we're able to just plug in and listen to whatever music we want rather than having it be more of a public affair. For Greeks, the word music had a very broad definition. Musike, oh god, now Vagilis is going to hear me try to pronounce Greek. Techne, or musical art, technically included what we today consider to be music, but it was also encompassed any art thought to be inspired by the Muses, including poetry, dance, comedy, tragedy, and epics. In fact, it was rare for things like poetry and plays to be performed without accompanying songs and dances. Everything's a musical, I love it. When it came to instruments, musicians favored a flute called the aulos, so that's an answer to your question. We got, yeah, the lyra, which is going to be stringed, right? The guitar like Cythera, its smaller cousin, the lyre, yeah, there you go, and the tympanon, which is where we get timpani, a hand drum that helped set and keep the music's tempo. Female dancers were also known to use an instrument called the crotala, or clackers. I wonder if they're like anything like castanets. Clackers were almost always played in pairs, and as the name implied, made percussive clacking noises. So this is probably a lyre here. Attic red figure cup with a scene of a young musician and his music teacher. Cool. Very nice design. Everyone was ripped back then. There was actually one time it was thought that like if when spinning a pottery wheel, you put a reed or like a straw on the pot, uh, and there were voices or music in the air, the vibrations on the straw against the pot when it was being turned would allow us to play it like a needle, or like a record. I can't imagine that would work, but man, would that be cool if we could get a sense of what this stuff sounded like back then. But yeah, otherwise I don't know how you could do a turntable with this type of
Musical contests,
technology.
or agones, were originally only held during religious festivals. Over time, they became cultural events in their own right and attracted musicians and spectators from all over the Greek world. For example, the Athenian Panathenea festival featured competitions for instrument playing and poetry recitation. The Dionysia festival included contests between groups of male singers to see who could best perform a dithyramb, a merry hymn in honor of the god Dionysus. While these contests could be attended by all, women weren't allowed to compete in them. In the early days of the competitions, winners only received a crown and an ego boost for their talents. But from the Hellenistic period onward, the rewards were upgraded to cash prizes. These prizes were large enough for musicians to make a fortune, especially if they moved from festival to festival.
Knows that the women couldn't compete in the Panathenaic competitions for music and dithyrambs, the merry Dionysian lyric. Music played a large role in ancient education. Also, this is a very cool. There's a lot of writing on this guy. Tetradrachm of Antiochus of Epiphanes. This is from much later. Music played a large role in ancient education. Children were taught to play instruments by either public or private tutors and could choose to learn the lyre, the aulos, or just how to sing poetry. So the aulos is a flute, and then they also have the diaulos, which is like two of them, which looks pretty crazy. I wonder. Oh man, I'm interested to hear how the Greeks pronounced Dionysus. The importance of music in education was a point of contention between two of the most famous philosophers of ancient Greece, Plato and Aristotle. Plato encouraged the teaching of the Kithara in his Protagoras, where he said that by learning the instrument, boys could become efficient in speech and action. Meanwhile, Aristotle said in Politics that children should be forbidden from learning the aulos as part of their schooling, as the flute was too exciting an instrument. Ah, what a killjoy, Aristotle. Smart in so many ways, and he thinks that God. So that's hilarious. Today we have debates over, um, smartphones and video games being too addicting, and Aristotle's like, you can't let them play the aulos. You can't let them play the flute. You're gonna get too into it, and they're gonna forget to do anything else. And nowadays, a parent would kill to have their kid practice an instrument, which just goes to show you that each generation has different things that are good and interesting, that previous generations don't understand. So don't be
The
ashamed.
Odeon of Pericles was built sometime between the 440s and 430s BCE. The building was commissioned by Pericles for use in the Panathenaea festival. The Odeon was also a venue for poetry readings, political rallies, and philosophical performances. According to ancient sources, the original design of the Odeon was inspired by the tent of the Persian king Xerxes, a spoil of war the Athenians salvaged after their decisive victory at Salamis in 480 BCE. The building's roof was made of timber from captured Persian ships. In this sense, the Odeon was both a triumphant symbol of Athens and an insult to their Persian enemies. This structure was considered one of the grandest architectural accomplishments of ancient Athens.
No kidding. I haven't heard of this before this, and yeah, we're gonna check out the architecture because it is very reminiscent of Persian architecture. This is super cool. I'm really into this. In ancient Greece, poem recitations were always accompanied by music and sometimes even dancing. These sung poems were performed by, oh God, audos, singers, or rhapsodies, who specialize in epic poems, or rhapsodes, who knows. I'm going to say rhapsodies, because we say Pericles. Rhapsodies, especially, were held in high esteem, particularly if they were part of the Homeridae, sons of Homer, a group that hailed from the island of Chios, who claimed to be descendants of the legendary Greek poet. I wonder if they were also, of course there were going to be contests to recite Homer. I wonder if there were special people who that was their job. I know in Kyrgyzstan, my roommate was telling me that um, there are people whose role in society is to recite their epic poem. Audos and rhapsodies, I'm struggling so much with these words, were entrusted with maintaining the Greek tradition of oral storytelling, and in Athens they were required by law to perform Homeric poems at every Pan-Athenaic festival. There we go. However, art on Greek vases depicts rhapsodies clad in cloaks and holding staffs characteristic of travelers, implying that the singers toured the countryside as well. That would make sense to, collect tips. Ithos, that's very okay. That's very helpful. And Vigelis, you keep pronouncing the D as a TH, so yeah, I might do that. That said, I might keep my English pronunciation, my bad pronunciation, because I like it. So anyway, let's check out these bull-headed columns. So this is very much like Persian architecture. I do love looking at the vague remnants of Persian architecture from the Middle East. But here, yeah, we have winged llamas. This is very Persian. I wonder if the Greeks actually indulged this much in like the 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 bull heads, these llamasus. This is cool. Griffin's head. Let's go up top here. So yeah, we've already toured this. We'll go back down. But this is a place that as there were poetry competitions. This was just like a public reading and recital hall. Cool. Yeah, that makes sense. D's are pronounced THs. So yeah, let's go in here. It's unfortunate that Alexander the Great burned down the nicest Persian city. So I really would have liked to see that today. But All of my favorite things are now in ruins, but life goes on. It's okay. I've got this game.
In ancient Greece, there was a type of music for almost any occasion. Complicated songs like hymns, paeans, and dithyrambs were meant for the ears of the gods, and as such were usually played during religious ceremonies and civic life. Meanwhile, a hymenaeus was a song performed at weddings, and a threnody accompanied funeral processions. For more merry occasions like symposia, scholia were the soundtrack of choice. However, drama was considered the epitome of artistic expression, since it combined songs with poetry, dance, acting, and costumes. Plays were thought to be the connection between mortals and gods, and the songs that accompanied them, especially those from the tragedies of Euripides, often became huge hits in the rest of Greece.
In the middle of that, as he's just reciting all the different artistic forms and media of the ancient world, I realized that there's gonna be a quiz at the end of this. I'm trying to keep my 100%, but he just rattled off a lot of Greek names of things that I'm not going to be able to remember. Oh dear. Alright, so here we're going to learn about the musical genres. Okay, this is going to be helpful. Hymns are metric compositions addressed to a god. They generally contain numerous lines praising the god and describing their deeds and benevolence, then end with a prayer. That's hilarious given that Greek gods were so often not benevolent. A paean is a specific type of hymn usually addressed to Apollo, Artemis, Zeus, Dionysus, Asclepios, or Hygeia. According to Promecos, they were usually sung for the cessation of plagues and maladies. Interesting. So Apollo, Asclepius, these would probably be medical. Dionysus, I like to think that that's right before a party. You sing a hymn, or sorry, a paean, and before you water the wine, and then Zeus, and that would make sense. And Apollo for plagues, Zeus for just general badness. Dithyrambs, on the other hand, were passionate celebratory songs linked with Dionysus, the god of wine. The Greeks really partied pretty hard, it seems like, in this game. Dithyrambs often kicked off the many religious festivals celebrated in places like Delos, Delphi, and Athens. In addition, to the different genres of music, there were also varied types of scales and intervals. These so-called harmonii were named based on their ethnic origins, Dorian, Lydian, and Phrygian. They were designed to stir different types of emotions in the audience as described in Aristotle's Politics. The harmonii. Okay, so there are actually, like Ionian scales, Lydian, Dorian. These are still around in musical theory today. In the nature of the mere melodies, there are differences, so that people, when hearing them, are affected differently and have not the same feelings in regards to each of them, but listen to some in more mournful and restrained state, for instance, the mode called Mixolydian, and to others in a softer state of mind, but in a midway state with the greatest composure to another, as the Dorian mode alone of tune seems to act, while the Phrygian makes men enthusiastic. I get reading Aristotle, but it's also so hard to, he's talking about musical genres that are 2,400 years dead. I'm struggling to totally get it, but yeah, of course, I understand how musical genres have different effects on people. No, I'm maintaining that I've not lost my 100%. Oh, and here's Asphasia. Oh god, the Taskmaster. This is so bad.
Hello
This
again.
could be it.
I trust your visit was worthwhile, and that learning of music was a feast for your mind. Was for mine. Is there anything else you'd like to do?
Yeah, that was fat-fingered, and the save didn't work, so I had to redo it. So I still consider it. Let's see. I think I'm ready for a
Fancy
quiz.
yourself an expert on music?
No, I don't.
Then let's put your knowledge to the test.
Yeah, I'm in big
Which
trouble here,
of the
Asphasia.
following songs was played
Oh,
at weddings?
God. I don't know. I want to say a threnody. Oh, yeah? You've got your notes? What is it? Oh, you want to do it? You want to be the savior here, Yippee Skippy? I think it's threnody, but it could be Hymenaeus. Oh, you're right. Good. Well done.
Correct.
Save my butt. Tomorrow
Hymenaeus
I'm
was
giving you extra
performed
credit.
at weddings to wish the couple a happy and prosperous union. Let's move on to the second question.
Oh
The
boy.
Odeon of Pericles was modeled after spoils of war from which Athenian enemy?
Persia for sure.
Correct. Not only was the design
Nice. Good
based on the
notes.
tent of the Persian king Xerxes, but the building's
Pasta.
roof was made of wood from captured Persian ships.
Ooh, I like that.
Only one question remains. According to Aristotle, music was especially important to which group of people?
Children, laborers, politicians, musicians. Well, obviously musicians. Man, is it laborers? He doesn't like children playing the music too much. It does help laborers in the fields keep rhythm.
You are correct. Aristotle believed music improved certain motor skills, so it was played for field
Very
pickers
nice, chat.
and rowers to
All
increase
right,
their
we're starting to work
output.
together.
You definitely have an ear for music, Wanderer. I applaud you.
All right, I think that's all for now.
Farewell, Wanderer. I hope you enjoyed the sweet sounds of the Odeon.
Cool. All right, so we're gonna continue to circle around. Ooh, Athenian, man, we're gonna switch to that. Even though my current Athenian hero looks so much cooler. Let's do a little bit. Just a regular old dude, Athenian man. Okay, we're gonna blend in the crowd. We're gonna get on some like recon mission. Little spy, Aegean atoll. Rocking boats. Oh, cool. So this is a this ship can be transported across the ocean. So we came from this way. Let's see. I want to see if we should circle the Acropolis or if we should just go back to the main. Yeah, let's head back the way we came. There's no reason to fully circle it. Wow, this horse looks pretty cool. All of its spikes. We've got our painted statues. I do feel bad, of course, but you know, it's kind of like a bike, bringing a bike on the sidewalk. You know, I can bring a horse on a walking path, right? We're not getting to Alexander the Great, unfortunately. We are going to be hard pressed to finish the Peloponnesian War. Ideally, I would love to continue this with Alexander the Great and as like the final end. And you know, like fall of Sparta with Thebes, Alexander the Great, and then transition into Rome. Because then, like right after, in the century after Alexander the Great, Rome really they win the Peloponnesian War. Or sorry, they win the Punic War, and really start to become hegemons over the Mediterranean world. All right, so here we are. We are coming onto the Acropolis, and I am very excited. So here we are, regular Athenian dude, cool little hair bracelet, and Aspasia. What is up?
Greetings, Wanderer,
Long time
and
no see.
welcome to the Acropolis, the shining jewel of Athens.
Thank you. It's good to be here.
My name is Aspasia. Though I am not originally from Athens, I have climbed to the top of its social ladder using my wit and intellect. I've even earned the love of Pericles, one of the most powerful men
She
in the
finally
city.
fully introduces
The
herself.
mind truly is a beautiful thing.
Yeah. All right. So this is when we're gonna ascend to the top of Athenian society.
The
both
Acropolis of
figuratively and
Athens is a
literally.
bastion of art and culture worthy of the gods themselves. Within the citadel, you will find many important sacred buildings, as well as some of the most magnificent art in all of Greece. You are in for a very enlightening visit. When you're done, come find me, and we can discuss the things you have seen. Farewell for now.
Cool. All right. I'm gonna have to change away from this Greek man. I'm gonna go back to the Athenian hero. Oh, is this it? I wonder if this is supposed to be like their tutorial or something, because we all of a sudden got basic commands. Yeah, was it Cassandra who we were doing, or Greek hero, no, it's an Athenian war hero. Here's Cassandra. Cool. Yeah, I'm digging this. All right, let's ascend to the Acropolis, shall we?
The Acropolis has gone through many changes in its long history. It began as a simple rock, was settled as early as the Neolithic period, and then became a fortress in the Mycenaean period. Stone buildings started appearing in the 7th century BCE. But the famous structures whose ruins remain visible today date mainly from a period of construction in the 5th century BCE. The location of the Acropolis is closely tied with Athens' foundation myth. Supposedly, it was the site where Athena and Poseidon competed for the city's patronage. This connection gave the Acropolis a sacred aura, and it was considered the religious heart of the city.
Yeah, so it's probably one of the first places settled, because I mean, look at this. It's this jutting rock in the middle of a valley. It's a perfect fortification area. Only one difficult way to get up. What's wrong with the Greek guy? We're going up to the most holy area and most important area in Athens. I think I want to dress up. Right, I want to be looking more like this than like some shoddy dude who needs a haircut. Yeah, here it is. Damn Ottomans stored all their gunpowder in it. It's ruined. It makes me so sad. I mean, it's just still amazing, but man, did it used to look awesome. Awesomer. After the archaic buildings of the old Acropolis, most notably the Temple of Athena Polios, were burned down in 480 by Xerxes' Persian army, the great general and statesman Pericles resolved to transform the naturally imposing rock into a huge monument to Athens' political, military, and cultural greatness. Thus began the most ambitious building program the Greek world had ever seen at that time. Several million drachmae were spent on the whole project, which has been deemed by UNESCO as the supreme expression of the adaptation of architecture to a natural site. Interesting. The Parthenon alone cost 469 talents, nearly 3 million drachmae. One drachma is a day's wage, so let's multiply that by like 1 to 200 to get, it'd be, a $1 billion building, essentially, and the equivalent of approximately 12 tons of silver. To justify the massive cost, Pericles cited the need to immortalize Athens' greatness, but also called attention to the jobs the project would create for hundreds of stonecutters, carpenters, metalworkers, painters, and unskilled laborers, all of whom were grateful for the opportunity to make more money. So again, like, Athens has so many people. It's able to send missions of sailors all over the Aegean. It's able to employ tons of people here. They are awash in money. The empire really works for them, and it's interesting to compare them to the American empire in how they get money. Ours is a little more indirect, and theirs was very clearly just like there's silver coming into our ports, paid for by our subject states. So here's the Propylaea. I've been here too. Cool. Yeah, I have a picture that's like of me right there. The Propylaea was the monumental gateway to the western side of the Acropolis. It was built between 437 and 432 BC under the supervision of either Phidias or Nesicles, and was part of Pericles' plan to adorn the Acropolis with magnificent monuments. Although it was not seen as a military structure, the Propylaea was also used to restrict access to Athens' holiest area. Yeah, so this could absolutely be used as a fortification. I really just, it's going to look so cool. All of these, just an imposing colonnade that could be fortified and restricted access to the most important and most defensible area of Athens. It was conceived as a spectacular construction of Pentelic white marble and Eleusinian gray marble, and its design was meant to stylistically mirror the Parthenon. The Propylaea's construction was suspended in 431 due to the start of the Peloponnesian War, and was never resumed. This means that out of a very ambitious project, only the main building was finished. Nevertheless, with its 5 gates and a ceiling painted with golden stars, it remained impressive. The gateway was also unique in that it mixed both Doric and Ionic columns, in addition to being reinforced with iron. The northern wing of the western facade housed a 10.75 meter, by 9 meter ritual dining room known as a pinacotheca. Pinacotheki. Oh my goodness, this is. I'm sorry, I wasn't ready to read all this dense text. According to Pausanias, the Pinacotheki was famous in antiquity for its paintings of Greek battles. That sounds really awesome. I wonder how good they've recreated it. But again, this is just like I love these colonnades. They're so imposing on this area. Yeah, wow. So this is the entrance to the Acropolis proper, the Propylaea. And this looks smaller than
The Temple
what there
of
was.
Athena Nike was built on the remains of old fortifications from the Mycenaean era. Worship at the temple can be traced back to the 6th century BCE, but the building itself was destroyed during the Greco-Persian Wars a century later. It was rebuilt during the Peloponnesian War. Given that the name Athena Nike roughly means Athena of victory, it was likely constructed in the hopes that Athens would win the war. Unusually, the temple depicts historical scenes of battles against the Persians instead of the more mythologically inclined art of other Greek buildings. The temple's priestess was chosen randomly among the Athenians and received a salary of 50 drachmae annually, along with skins and trophies from sacrificed animals.
A randomly chosen priestess. That sounds right for disruption. I feel like all they need is one person who's out of their mind and the whole thing falls apart. Um, wow. So yeah, I love that the Athenians, they begin to shy away from mythological scenes and they instead celebrate themselves. And they realize they've ascended to a glorious age. They are really riding high, and almost they as a people are at that cusp of like push and hubris. And that's what we're going to be talking about in class this week, is how Athens has a string of incredible victories. They defeat Aegina. They um, they defeat a massive Boeotian and Phocian force and take over both of those regions. So they have a land empire. Their maritime empire is at its height. The Spartans were cowed and sent back to the Peloponnesus, and the Athenians are just they are masters over their domain, and then it begins to fall back apart. This is in the first Peloponnesian War, during the time that we're talking about in the 460s and 450s, and down into about 446 BC is when this happens. Um, and yeah, they were at the top of their game, and it's yeah the Athenians, it's a problem of overreach. The democracy, the problem you see in the Athenian democracy is that they're always ready to boundaries. And it's amazing in certain respects, and they are capable of so much dynamism while they also burn too hot. I guess the myth of Icarus would kind of applies to the Athenians in certain ways. So here's the Temple of Athena Nike. The area where the Temple of Athena Nike was built offers a beautiful view of the southern shores of Attica, along with the ports of Piraeus and Phaleron. This noteworthy feature, as well as the Mycenaean ruins nearby, were the basis for the assumption that Aegeus, the ninth king of the old Athenian dynasty, watched the sea from here in the hopes of seeing his son Theseus returning safe and sound from Crete. Um, oh, interesting. Yeah, so okay, they're going to tell the story. So Theseus, the most important Athenian mythological hero, the guy who supposedly founded Athens, and if there's any historicity to this, it's that Theseus was the one who brought a bunch of villages together into a single polis, and this is called Synoicism, which we talked about last week, because Themistocles in the 470s and 460s was in the Peloponnesus Synoicizing Peloponnesian polis and creating an anti-Sparta league in the Peloponnesus, which was very, very scary. Anyway, so Theseus is the founding hero of Athens. So he's the most important Athenian mythological hero, and he had left for Crete under the guise of one of the youth sent to feed the Minotaur. Theseus promised Aegeus that he would kill this monster and bring back the Athenian youth on a ship flying white sails, symbolizing victory and joy. So this is where he goes into the labyrinth. He kills the Minotaur, sails home. He forgot to change the sails to white, and instead the black sails remain. When Aegeus saw the dark sails, he assumed Theseus had died. Stricken with grief, the king threw himself off the steep bastion of the Acropolis, meeting his death on the ground below. However, other versions of the myth tell that Aegeus flung himself into the sea, which consequently took his name, the Aegean. That's what I've heard as well, that he fell into the Aegean. I believe Aegean means something like Sea of Despair or something. Wingless Victory, so this is Athena Nike maybe. Sculptural fragment from the Athena Nike. Cool, so this is actually from the temple here. It does remain one of very few. Oops. Oh yes, so this is just introducing us to discovery sites. We've seen quite a number, but thank you, tutorial. There's a place I just want to go over here before we see it. So right now the propylae is wide open. Some cool, are these scenes of war or are they cultural things? Can't really tell. Alright, so let's go, yeah, let's go here.
The Acropolis was built up over a long period, due in no small part to its partial destruction during the Greco-Persian Wars. It was in the 5th century BCE, though, that the Acropolis received its most significant improvements. This period was an extremely prosperous time for Athens, both financially and culturally. With a booming economy bolstered by trade and the Lavrion silver mines, Pericles, the leader of Athens, financed a huge project to rebuild the citadel. He enlisted the help of renowned artists, like the sculptor Phidias, as well as the architects Iktinos and Callicrates. Together, they erected buildings like the Parthenon and the Propylaea Gateway. Pericles' goal was to make the Acropolis into a glorious monument to the gods and to mortal Athenians.
Cool, yeah, so let's not forget, you know, I've been really playing up the amount of empire that played into the creation of this. But yeah, the trade down here, so this is Phaleron Harbor, and then further down that's the Piraeus, right, that we saw earlier. Because of the Athenian Empire, which is just to you know, the Delian League is basically all of these islands here and northwards, and there's a bunch of islands within there, and a lot of coastal cities throughout this area as well. And they're all going to have a free trade network here by like 450 something, I don't remember. It's in the 450s or 440s. Aegina, which is this island, which has always been a thorn in Athens' side, capitulates, tears down their walls, and gives up their ships. And so this is really a whole free trade area, and trade will be booming. There's a lot of, there's this building program and the fleet to take care of any of the unemployed. So really, there was just a lot of money transferring hands. So this was a very prosperous time for anyone in the Delian League. And it's that balance that Athens really struggled to maintain between treading lightly on their allies and having to fully commit to a hegemonic, coercive empire where they were using force, enslavement, mass killing, brutal repression to keep people paying the league dues. And I think that, you know, they could have backed off a little bit and been more successful in the long run, because we will see a lot of rebellions against Athenian power from their empire. The history of the Acropolis did not end with the Periclean building program. In antiquity, fires and invasions often imperiled or even destroyed parts of the Acropolis, forcing Athenians and foreign admirers to the site to restore, embellish, and protect the remains of Pericles' achievements. For example, a ceremonial entrance in front of the Propylaea was built by F. Septimius Marcellinus in 280 CE. Cool, so this is, you know, 700 years after the Periclean building program, with stone quarried from nearby mountains, which had recently been destroyed by a Germanic invasion. It is known as the Boulay Gate, named after its first modern excavator. It should be the Septimian or Marcellinian Gate. The Acropolis had many uses throughout history. Under Byzantine rule, it hosted pilgrims seeking to visit the Parthenon, which had been transformed into a church. After the Fourth Crusade, it housed a Roman Catholic cathedral, as well as the palace of the Latin Duke of Athens. Cool. I want the yeah. So right now they're talking about the entirety of the Acropolis. So the whole upper plateau looming over Athens. In Ottoman times. So let's just go back real quick. Um, so the the Roman Empire falls in the 400s. The Byzantines are going to recapture it pretty soon thereafter in the 4 or 500s, where it's going to remain until 1204, which is the Fourth Crusade. There a bunch of Crusaders were going to go to the Holy Land, but the only way they could go is the Venetians, and the Venetians that were actually like, hey, instead of the Saracens, why don't you fight our main trade competitors, the Byzantines? And they just dump a bunch of Crusaders into Constantinople. They sack and pillage it, and it's just a decline from there. It's really pretty sad. Um, I mean, I guess if you care about Byzantium and like it, which I do, I got a soft spot. I think the longer the Byzantine Empire was around, the cooler. But sorry, I don't want to get DDoSed by any Turks. Uh, I'm all down for the Turks living there now. It's all good. In Ottoman times, it acted as a fortress for protecting mosques, living quarters, and the harem of the local governor. Yeah, so the Ottomans then occupied it until the 1820s, when there's a Greek revolution supported by a bunch of French, Germans, and English, because they're all like reading Greek philosophy and being like, oh, these guys are so cool, and then they come to Greek revolutionary aid, and they're like, oh, wait a minute, these guys are nothing like Pericles, and the Greeks that we read about, they're not reading the Iliad. These guys are like a bunch of goat herders, and yeah, the rest is history. So I don't need to go into that, but it's a very cool, interesting. No, I won't go into that. We're not here for modern Greek history. It was only in the first half of the 19th century that the newly independent modern Greek state decided to revive the Acropolis' classical ruins. The medieval and modern buildings were removed, and the site's restoration has been going on ever since. That's really interesting. Okay, so I wonder how much of this was just like they had to repiece things together, or if the Acropolis was just totally covered, because with the Greek independence movement, as I was mentioning, all all of the Western support came because of their reverence for classical Greece, and so the revival was in part to get aid from Western countries to help the Greek economy, because they wanted to. It's kind of like the tourism industry, and just trying to hype up certain pieces about it. Um, as we saw with the Olympics, like everyone in the 19th century was obsessed with Greece and Rome. Here is the priest's house. In ancient Greece, priests and priestesses were either designated or elected from among citizens and clerical families. They performed sacred rituals on special occasions like festivals or when otherwise required. Um, I do think that so they're designated or elected, but for the most part, they're not full time. Greek priests were like, it was something that you kind of did, and I think it might have been an honor bestowed upon certain people of high esteem. Priest houses are often linked with the priesthood, but priests did not actually live in them, preferring to stay at their own homes in the city's residential quarter. Instead, the main purposes of priest houses was to provide priests with a space to carry out their rituals during specific days on the religious calendar. Okay, cool. So these are not going to be like the main big public temples. This is going to be like the smaller areas for ritual. Priest houses were considered too sacred for the mundane activities of daily life, and priests had to perform purification rituals, such as a period of chastity before they were allowed to enter. Probably like pour some water or olive oil on them. Here's the image. Priests in the sacrifice scene, a red-figured bell crater attributed to the Pothos Painter. And so the Pothos Painter, we don't have a name for him, but that's one of the designations for an artist that we have a lot of work from. So here we go. I don't know if they were selected randomly. I wouldn't be surprised if sometimes they were, but I also think, I mean, it's a very important function, so I do think probably, um, they would probably be selected to a certain extent. Here's the priest house. Doesn't look like it's not too big, not too many rituals going on. Ooh, it goes deeper. Um, so they're not going to be staying here, but they will be serving some functions. So here we have, like a place for them to do some ablutions, right? Wash themselves off. Little towel dispenser or a lantern or something. Yeah, crystal rock bed in case you need to take a nap. Cool. So that's where the priests would hang out. Priests and their priest buddies. It's got some cool statesman, cool statue there. Got some gardens. This might be a tomb of some kind. A very cool fountain. This is quite beautiful. I would love to come up here as an assassin, like go after some political people. Okay, come on. Can you get up this? Yes. An olive tree. I wonder if we're going to be able to find the exact olive tree that Athena gave to Athens. Remember, Athena competed with Poseidon to see who could give helpful, um, the most helpful, gift to Athens. And Poseidon gave a salt spring, which is like cool, but you know, can't really drink from it. So that was not the winner. Olives, of course, having food, oil, all sorts of good stuff.
Behind the Propylaea was the giant bronze statue of Athena Promecos, or Athena who fights on the front lines. That name was reflected in the spear and shield the statue held in its hands. It was erected in the mid-5th century BCE by the artist Phidias. According to an inscription, it took 9 years to make and cost almost 500,000 drachmae. At approximately 10 meters tall, the statue was apparently so large that Pausanias claimed its helmet and spear tip could be seen from the sea near Cape Sunion, 60 kilometers away. The ornamentation on the statue's shield was engraved by the metalsmith Mies.
Wow, that is extremely cool. Yeah, so it was almost like a beacon. I mean, it was a beacon, especially with its shield. The shield is such a massive reflector, and the breastplate and the incredible helmet. This is very, very cool. So Athena Promachos, just sending a beacon across the entire Saronic Gulf. They mentioned it was visible from Cape Sunion, which is down here, and we're gonna have to go there before the week is out. I meant to go there before the Persian Wars. This did play a part in the Battle of Marathon, but I didn't get to it that day. This is the same map as the actual game. None of it exists today, but well, the statue, yeah, it's all gone. Athena Promachos. Athena, who's miraculously born from Zeus's splitting headache, was one of the most important deities in the Greek pantheon. Pantheon. In the Bronze Age, she was an Aegean goddess who protected lucrative palatial and household activities such as wool processing. Cool. So she does have. Oh, can I remember it? It's like Athena Proskinos or something like that. Who's like the Athena of wool weaving and skilled trades. Later on, she became the patron deity of many Greek cities, with Athens being only the best known among them. However, she still kept her place as the protector of artisans, spinners, weavers, smiths, and the like. The goddess had numerous epithets reflecting the specific attributes, including Athena Polias, which I think is going to be the statue in the Parthenon itself, the protector of the city. Athena Ergane, that's what I was looking for, the protector of the crafts, and Athena Promachos, the fighter in the first ranks, which alluded to her worship as a martial deity. She was also conceived as the goddess of wisdom, and her most famous symbol was the owl, which often engraved on Athenian coins and painted on vases. And actually, I wonder if you can see this. I got this cool necklace today. I love the idea of owls, from Athena. Athena is my patron goddess, but I got this necklace. I don't know if you can see that, but it's an owl head on an octopus body. It looks weird. I don't know if I like it or hate it, but I like octopi. I like owls, so I'm gonna try it for a little bit. And so here we have Athena Promachos on a Pan-Athenaic amphora attributed to the Maurices. I did. It was $10 downtown. I was like, I'll support a local business. Let's do it. Because I've been looking. I have. Is it over here? I was wearing on another stream another owl necklace I have. Because I do like them. I haven't found owl iconography that I am totally in love with. They are kind of weird looking birds. I wonder if
The
this is the olive tree.
Araphoroi were young girls between the ages of 7 and 11 who were in charge of special rites. A list of 4 girls was drafted by the Assembly of Citizens, from which the High Magistrate, the Archon Basileus, chose 2 to serve as Araphoroi for the year. The girls lived in a house on the Acropolis. They were in charge of carrying sacred objects and weaving the Peplos of Athena. The Peplos was a sacred robe offered to Athena during Panathenea, a festival held in her honor.
Cool. Yeah, so the Panathenea, I believe was, oh man, was it every year or was it every 4 years? Um, I think we'll probably find out by the end of this. So here's a Parthenon frieze showing the Peplos of Athena. The Peplos is, yeah, as they described, the vestment of her that is sewn every year by special women and girls. The Araphoroi were selected on the basis of noble birth, so only high-status girls had the privilege of serving Athena during the feasts of the Araphoroi, Phoria, and the Panathenea. Pausanias wrote that the 2 girls whose designation meant bearers of the mysteries, so those might refer, oh, never mind. I was going to say the mysteries of Eleusis, but that's not true, that's Demeter. Performed a special rite during the Araphoria. Their main duty was to descend from the Acropolis to a precinct of Aphrodite, carrying secret objects on their heads given to them by the priestess of Athena. Once at their destination, they left the objects and received something else in return. Neither the Araphoroi nor the priestesses knew what any of the objects were, as they were always covered. Very creepy. I wonder if this started as a prank. There's like, I wonder how long we can get these people to do something in secret and never look. Oh, but they probably did. I'm assuming they looked. And that would be a cool setting for a story. Is like you pull back, or the cool conclusion of a story. They pull back and they're like cursed. It would be kind of like what's I'm totally blanking on. It's not Cassandra. The box of all the terrible things. Um, Someone please type that in the chat before I go nuts. The Araphoi's other duty was to assist the temple's priestess in the sacred act of weaving Athena's peplos, or her garment. This ritual took place over 9 months before the garment was officially delivered to Athena at the Panathenea. So that implies that the Panathenea was every year. Employing young, inexperienced Araphoroi guaranteed the purity of the sacred robe. It also gave the girls a chance to learn how to spin and weave, which were the 2 most important tasks required of Greek women. Yeah, so that's like probably the noble girls who are the best weavers got selected for that. So this is, I think, the house of the Araphoroi. Yeah, in here. So during the Panathenea, it would be offered up to Athena as a sacrifice. So they employ these girls for the whole year to weave it. And it's going to be some awesome garment. And the priestess is probably going to be helping us supervise. And yeah, then it's given up. I wonder. So yeah, I wonder. This is a special olive tree. Let's see. The olive tree of Athena. Here we go. And I think this is probably where we'll end the stream. It looks like we're coming up on an hour. So this is what she gave to Athens. Today, an olive tree grows on the western side of the Erechtheion. Although it was planted in 1952 by members of the American School of Archaeology, shouts out, it is conveniently believed to be descended from a sacred olive tree planted during the foundation of Athens. Conveniently believed to be descended from a sacred olive tree planted by Athena. Myth says that when Athena and Poseidon competed to become the patron deity of the new city, they were required to bring gifts to its citizens. Athena struck the Acropolis with her spear, and the sacred olive tree sprouted from the ground. For these reasons, ancient Greeks thought that Athenian olive trees were the holiest in all of Hellas. Herodotus and Pausanias both report that the Persians burned the tree in 480, only for it to regrow again from its ashes on the very same day. This miraculous revival is the archetype for all other subsequent resurrections of the tree. We love that. And here is a bronze coin of Athens depicting Athena standing beside her olive tree right there. Very nice. Alright, so let's take a look at where we are. We're cruising through Attica. So here we are on the Acropolis, making our way around. Looking like tomorrow we will be going into the Parthenon. I do think that I will. I'll probably. I think I might do Sunday, Monday, Tuesday this week. Um, yeah, so I'll shoot for that. Anyway, see you guys potentially tomorrow. And yeah, thanks for tuning in. Much appreciated.